Okay, well, let's turn the corner here, Julie, and we'll talk for a few minutes about utilizing these different formats. What are they? Maybe relative effectiveness as far as different things out there. I hope there's no one out there still using the press-on letters, but I would think that there are, well, just go down the path. Tell us about the different communication vehicles. So the people listening will have a refresher about what are some options.
Well, as far as communicating with the
Yes,
owners,
right.
well, there's all kinds of them. Let's start at the macro. Let's start at a town hall. Let's just say you have to have a town hall, and that's just informational. It's not like a board meeting, though the board may, quote, conduct it or just kind of lead it, but they're there, let the homeowners ask questions about whatever the subject matter is. So if the board is saying we're going to have, oh, let's just say we just want to increase our assessments more than state law or our governing documents allow us. So we have to have a vote of the owners, right? X amount of owners have to buy into it. Many states have this. What do you do? Well, you give them all the information ahead of time. You email that out, or you put it on the website. They come with questions because you start talking about money. People have a tendency to show up, and you let them ask questions of you or the board. And if you have a subject matter expert, let's say you have your finance committee that's headed by a CPA or someone of that nature, and they can answer the financial questions because they have the gravitas and they've been on the board and they looked at the financial statements, and they also know what communities are paying around and things need to happen. So that's a good thing. That back and forth is all an incredibly good thing. So that's the macro, and you might have to have more than one. Go, Robert. I see
Yeah,
that.
well, you were talking right there. You talked about a number of different things, supporting each other. You were talking about the town hall, but an email announcement setting it up, the website setting it up, and then what I would call the sweeteners that in our industry, the reserve study field, we're called in to speak to the board sometimes at a board meeting. Hear from the reserve study. So advertise the expert's going to come in here to answer your questions. So it's not
that's just actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't mean to leave that out, but that's correct. Absolutely. You guys are, of course, because a lot of the assessment increases have to do with the board saying we need to fund our reserves.
Yeah.
So the reserve study folks come in. If it's a legal issue, you'll have your attorney come in.
Right. It's a collections issue. We need to update our governing documents, are no longer serving us well.
Yep. And we have to vote on that one. That's a big one.
And the arborist talking about why we need to pull down everyone's favorite tree that is at the entry of the association. So what I'm hearing is it's okay to spend some money, and that may be on the expert to show up.
Yes.
Refreshments. We're talking refreshments.
I think that's a good idea. I do think refreshments are a good idea. Then it kind of gives it a little more of a social tinge to it. Yeah. So it's more of our community, our kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And especially if the board is spending our money, I'd like to drink my lemonade.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. My tax.
Well, if you want them to come, have an open bar. No, I didn't mean that.
Okay. Actually, there probably are some occasions that might be the right thing, but
actually, I've seen that happen. I don't mean like an open bar usually, but I've seen places do that. Have, wine and cheese kind of thing. So it's a little more social.
I like that.
Do it after it's all over, because it could get ugly if it gets, people with a little too much. But anyway, you have to plan that, make sure you have the insurance and all this. I want to do all the disclaimers. Right. But a lot of places do it.
Yeah. But again, what I hear you say is weaving these communication vehicles together: the email, the website, the town hall, the notice at the mailboxes, something like that. Everyone interested in spending money so that our elevators run quicker, something like that. Gather their interest, our association, some of those words that you were talking about.
Yes. There's so much of, Robert, you've been in this business as long as I have. And, it's always an us versus them, the owners versus the board. It's often like that. Right. And I find there's the reasons we're human beings and politics are involved, and you can't really help it. Right. But I think so much of that happens because of the lack of communication, and the owners, maybe they're not trying to avail themselves of the information. And as a board member, you're like, well, if they don't want to know, I don't want to give it to them. I don't feel like I should have to do it. But, you still do have to do it, even if it's for 10% of the people out there. You do.
Yeah. You need to get that voting block on your side.
Yeah.
And be transparent. This is what we're
positive.
doing.
It's positive. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. do you think any of these communication vehicles or strategies are going to change post Champlain Tower South?
I don't think the vehicles are necessarily going to change, but I tell you, and I think you would agree with this, since that happened, it has just busted wide open as far as boards. They're not even in a high rise. They could just be in any type of community. As far as boards stopping and looking at what they're doing and how they're funding their reserves and how they're operating, how their administration is operating. I mean, since that happened, I literally have talked to dozens of boards and done a couple of consulting gigs with them to help them figure out how they can change things and operate things better.
Right.
And high rise obviously has one. I did talk to a high rise, in fact, in LA about it.
Yeah.
So, but other places, just single family homes are like, maybe we should operate a little differently.
Right.
And
there's that appreciation that we should be better at this. There are some big consequences. We've been letting our delinquencies slide for a long time. We've been letting our maintenance slide. We've been letting our organizational records slide, just all those kinds of things. I think I would agree with you that it has increased the owner's care about the association. What's going on with my association? Am I in danger? Am I at risk?
Oh, yeah.
So that openness, that transparency of the board, again, using communication vehicles to say, this is our association. This is what we're doing in light of, and you can name it, the Champlain Tower South tragedy. We are making these changes. People have asked us to move our board meetings from a certain time to another time, or a certain day of the week, or blah, 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 blah. It's an opportunity for the board to do a better job of engaging the owners.
And it's interesting. You're absolutely right. That raised so much awareness in the industry among board members and homeowners just about, wow, we live in an association and it's not just this thing, this entity that's sitting out there that we pay money to and we don't know what it's for, especially if a lot of the residents don't necessarily know because they just don't look at it, don't have the time. I believe me, I understand it. But it's so interesting how, and even now, and this is months later, right? You'd have thought, well, with the way the news cycle is and everything that's going on in our world, that would go off to the wayside. But I find that board members actually are still interested and engaged in trying to figure out how they can do things differently, better, whether it's, whether it's reserves or whether it's administration, which that's really interesting. I've probably 5 or 6 associations, large, and one's a high rise, but the other ones are large scale, that have talked to me about how they do things administratively and how they could do it better. And I take a look at their org chart and I take a look at their staffing and I'm like, you're stuck in about 1996. And they'll say, we know, which is mind blowing to me, because normally you end up arguing, you always get one person who knows it, but then everyone else is like, oh no.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
Finally, they're aware.